Greetings, guys. Trippy Sage here. It's been a minute since I made a video. The last one was talking about astral projection and like mudras and mantras. So for this video, I kind of want to talk about like something I feel like a lot of us on the planet Earth face, and that was like depression and dealing with self-love, right, and self-worth. And so I guess I want to start this video off by just talking about my own like experience with this and how I had to grow and attain my self-love and my self-worth and really like understand that I had to love myself, because I mean, like, only you can love yourself like no one else can. Like, only you truly know what goes on in your head. So I'm just telling like a little like brief, like, I guess, like recollection of what went on in my past and what led me to be where I am and who I am now. I'm not saying I'm ahead of anyone watching this, but just saying like how I was able to grow and like, bring about a lot more self-love in my life. Because for a lot of my life, it was based on like self-judgment and just listening to the voice of ego in the head, always comparing things, and not really just being and allowing and understanding that everything's connected. So my story started like I had a really bad depression like in about like 2014, 2015, like in the fall. I can't remember exactly what year, but it was either 2014 or 2015. And I just like went through like a really bad depression. Like I guess I'll give you more in-depth explanation of what happened. I went through a breakup. I was in a relationship for about like 3 or 4 years. So that breakup kind of put me in a bad funk, like a really bad depression. I was sleeping for about like 12 or 14 hours each day. I didn't feel like waking up. I was like, there's no purpose for me on this planet Earth. I was still trying to be active, so like I was sleeping for many hours a day. I'd wake up, I would try to eat, but I was gaining lots of weight because of this depression, because I just didn't have like a urge to go anywhere or do anything. But I still tried to like maintain like riding my bike. I'd ride the bike to this local park that we have called Goodale, and just go there and look at the pond, and like kind of like study nature and just try to understand where this hurt was coming from. And it took a while. It wasn't like a really quick thing where I was just like, I snapped out of it. Like, depression is really bad. Like, negative thoughts can really affect your reality. Like, most people don't understand just how powerful each thought we have is. And when you have one negative thought, it's like a snowball effect. So that one negative thought, for me, was starting to plummet. And it was kind of like it was building like a massive snowball going down a mountain. And just everything in my life was just terrible. Like, I didn't have a job. At that point, I think the car I had, it broke down. Just everything. It was just all bad, just all downhill. And I was just starting to wonder. I was like, man, like, what's my purpose here? Like, how am I helping the earth? How am I doing anything for anybody? Like, at that time, I wasn't really talking to nobody. Wasn't really going out. And I had to really. I was like, I always tell people when they ask me, like, where were you for those last 2 years, or whatever. I was like, I was in the cave. Like, I feel like I went through like a transformation, almost like Batman did. I don't know if you watched the Batman movie or the trilogy, like how like when he was a little kid, he had a fear of bats, and him facing that fear is what made him the Batman. He conquered his fear, and he used it as a driving force to propel him. And that's kind of how it was for me. Like, I feel like I went to the cave. I did lots of meditation, lots of prayer. I tried to find myself, but at the same time, I was fighting the fact that I didn't really have an urge to even be alive. Like, it was like borderline suicidal thoughts, depression and suicidal thoughts, whatever you want to call it. But the thing about this is that a lot of indigo children do face depression on a heavier scale than most people, because they're usually very empathetic. So they're absorbing a lot of different things, and they are in tune with who they were in a past life, and they're just like looking like, wow, like, I'm still here, like, but am I helping? Am I doing something? Am I living to my best purpose? So that's what I was going through, and this was actually around the time that my very, very apparent spiritual awakening had happened. Like, around this time, I thought I was going crazy, because I was starting to see like these numbers, like I was seeing a lot of 33. That was like one of the first things that propelled me into really understanding and knowing how in tune and aware I was in the present reality, and that I did have a really important part to play, as well as you all do, whoever's watching. And I started seeing things like 33. I think that was one of the first major numbers, and like, I wasn't too aware of like the Freemason, like, the lodges and all that stuff. So at this time, it was still kind of new knowledge to me, but these things were popping up, and I was like, yo, is this like the universe talking to me? Because I was like, all my thoughts that I would have later on during the day, I would either hear it right back, replayed back to me in conversation, or I would see something representing something I was thinking about. And I was like, yo, this is getting scary because I was in a dark place. So all my thoughts were just super negative. So, from like 2014, 2015, I had to really work on myself and really kind of like find why I love myself, and I did, I even took classes on how to better help myself because I did face anxiety. I still kind of do sometimes, but I faced it really bad, especially during this depression, and which was also one of the reasons why I didn't want gloves because just the anxiety was just too much. Because at that time I was really I think my orb field was really open, and I was just absorbing everyone else's thoughts and emotions on top of my own dark and depressive thoughts and emotions. So my anxiety, my solar plex was out of whack. I had to get my emotional body back in check, get my emotions back and realize that, I can't let it govern me to that extent. I have to receive the emotion and express it, but I couldn't allow it to literally cripple me. It was almost like sleep paralysis, if some of you guys are familiar with that term. And so, I was just going on. I started journaling. I started writing down things. I took classes. I went to like they had like a couple like I don't know what to call it, like facilities. Where they offer classes for people who suffer like bad anxiety and just depressive thoughts and things like that to help kind of find something. So I went to many of these classes, which is why I'm able to help people now, just because I studied. I really had to learn ways or outlets to release your negative thoughts. You can't, because if you suppress them, it's like basically having like let's say an energy drink in a bottle or something, right? You close the top, shake it, you keep shaking it, and then like what's going to happen eventually? That top's going to pop off just because the pressure is built up. It's the same with like the emotions, and I didn't realize just how powerful emotions was in terms of our reality. I didn't realize that your state of mind and where you are emotionally has to do a lot with how your reality will be. It's like you can either put yourself in hell or you can put yourself in heaven, almost kind of in a type of sense. And so I had to learn that. I did things like I was going to the park, walking with my shoes off to release negative energy out of my feet. That's a very good way to release negative energies, either in the sunlight or around full moons. I was also writing down, journaling my emotions on each day. Like certain days, like my anxiety level is like a 6 or a 7, and then I'd have to write down why I think that is. Like maybe because I drank too much coffee today, or maybe because I woke up late and so I'm still in that sleepy mood, things like that. So I had to kind of really figure myself out and understand where all this stuff was stemming from. Another thing, I'm an artist. I like drawing. So drawing really came in handy around this time. Like I was able to kind of release what was going on and have a better visualization of how to deal with what I was dealing with. Because heartbreak is a very, very traumatic thing. And a lot of teenagers go through it, and it sucks that you have to go through it being so young. Because you end up falling, you really do. Because you don't think, you see it in the movie and you're like, oh, they're in love, and it's like, oh, that's cool. It looks amazing when it's happening. But then the aftermath, most times, not very often do you get to marry your high school sweetheart. So most times you guys end up breaking up, and one of you is more hurt than the other, just based on what went on and the outcome. And so that person has to go through something where it's like, I've lost a person who really knew me. We built so much memories together and things like that. So heartbreak is something that you don't have to deal with it alone. Please talk to somebody. I know you have a friend or somebody that you really trust, or a family member, your mom, your dad, your older brother maybe, or your older brother, your older sister, your younger sister. Talk to somebody, because holding it in, it will take you to a dark place. And I don't want anybody to go to a dark place, even though it is you do have to go within to kind of find what you're looking for, in life in general. And I'm not just talking about just being sad and going within. I'm just talking about just going within. You really have to delve within yourself to do that. So around this time, I started seeing my spiritual awakening start happening too. I started understanding more about the pineal gland, more about so it's called the pineal gland scientifically. Then in more spiritual terms, like Eastern philosophy, they call it the Ajna chakra, so your third eye. I started learning more about my solar plexus and how my solar plexus is where all my emotions are really kind of stemming from. It's almost like the power of the sun right here in your solar plex. And so once it goes out of whack, sometimes it's hard for you to breathe. You have bad breathing. You might feel pains in certain parts of your body, like your lungs or like your chest, your heartbeat just is irregular, and just other stuff like that. And I also learned about the heart chakra, which is a very important key as to why I was able to get out of what happened. Was I had to forgive myself first of all, because I said things in that time span in like 2014, 2015 that really still kind of haunt me to this day. Like I remember sitting down with this person, and I said I hate myself to them, and I was like, I still look back and I'm like, yo, you really said you hate yourself, because nowadays when I wake up in the morning, I try to do this as much as I can. I tell myself I love myself 7 times, because the subconscious mind can be programmed and attuned to certain frequencies. And if you're attuned to a low level frequency, you'll say things that are negative like that. Like, I hate myself. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of this accomplishment. I'm not worthy of being rich and stuff like that. And that's all a subconscious program. So I really had to, like, I guess, rearrange my subconscious mind and really put into action the things I wanted to, because my conscious mind is always like, yeah, man, you're a cool guy, like you're amicable with people, you're very sociable, you can be sociable, but you also like to have your alone time. You like nature, so that's something you can connect with a lot of people with, things like that. But then the subconscious mind, because I was going through this sad time, this depression, was always just thinking negative stuff. So I said I hate myself, and I was like, yo, I really don't hate myself. Why did I lie to myself? Like, why would I project something like that? And I had to go within my heart space and really find out that not that I hated myself, it's just that I was upset with the things I had done in my past. So forgiveness, I had to forgive myself for a lot of the things that I had done, good or bad, just mistakes I had made. Maybe I thought I was so knowledgeable in at the time, but I was still growing, I was still young. I think, how old was I? I was like 18, 19. So I was still like grown, like we feel like once we turn 18, we're adults now. We're just like, we know everything, but like there was still lots for me to learn, Around that time, I started seeing auras too. Like, and for a long time, I thought it was like sickness. Like, I thought my brain was going dead or something. Like, that's what it felt like. It was like I went through death while I was alive, if that makes sense. It was like I suffered ego death when I was 17. So it was kind of like the ego death was now showing me what happened, the transformation that was happening. So I started seeing like people's auras and hearing things. I don't want to make you think I'm crazy or anything. I'm not like hearing just like I was hearing like ghosts or some shit, but like I was like hearing thoughts that were being sent out into the universe by other beings. And I was like a receiver, and I didn't understand fully what it was. So I was like, yo, are these my thoughts? Why do my thoughts sound so crazy? Like, at times, the collective consciousness of this planet, the thoughts can be overwhelming. And I was like, yo, these aren't my thoughts, but like, why are they so powerful in my mind? And I started having to like do research first of all, because I've always been a person who's just always wanted to research things. I always want to know like how things are balanced, and that's kind of my left brain, but I am also very right brain. Like, I love abstract, I just love going with the flow and things like that. But at that time, I was in a very analytical place. I really wanted to know what was going on, because I thought I was either a madman, and it was starting to project to other people. Like my family member, I lost a lot of friends. Like, I lost a lot of friends. But I mean, as of recent times, they're like coming back into my life slowly, and I'm not like mad. I'm not holding any grudges for them for not being there when I needed them. But like, I lost family members, not in the sense I lost them, like they didn't pass away, but like they just stopped messing with me, on that really close connected level. So I was alone. It was a weird time for me, and I never really shared this with many people, but I feel like it's good for me to talk about this so that I can also understand. Maybe I can look back at this video and like, gain some other truths about what happened. But I feel like a lot of people go through this. A lot of indigo kids that I've met are usually, they go through depression, they're just like, bro, I don't want to live, man. Like, fuck this life, like this planet. I'm not from here, things like that. And like, I just want you to know that you're very special. Like, you're very needed. Like you're amazing. You're divine. Like, everything about you. Like the human body, your veins in your body are long enough to circle the planet Earth twice. Like, just in this small body. That's crazy to think about. Like, things like that. Like, your brain processes billions of things. Your subconscious mind, our eyes are only like visualizing probably 1 or 2% of what's going on, but like And like in truth, our subconscious mind is taking like maybe billions. I don't know if it's trillions. I don't want to give you wrong numbers, but I think it's about billions of like different stimuli, sounds, vibrations, and things like that. And we're like the ultimate supercomputer. We don't realize just how amazing we are. You know, we wake up each day, and we do these things, but we don't know how we're doing them. But we just know we do them. You know, so I really like looking into it, really learning about the different hemispheres in the brain, and like really understanding just how amazing we are. And that really truly helped me to kind of build upon my self love. You know, just really understanding my truth and having knowledge of self, and not just being like a sheep and not really knowing much about it, just hearing little pieces here and there, like, oh yeah, we can do this and that, but like not really going in depth, you know. So around the time when I did depression, I was also on a spiritual path. I was trying to cleanse my life, you know. Around September 2015 was when I really like tried to change my life. I tried to get my life right with God, you know. I tried to cleanse my karma because I felt like karma was killing me at that time too. You know, my karmic debt was really killing me, but it was because I was interceding in other people's karmic cycles, and I wasn't aware of it, that it would have that repercussion on me, but it came back and kicked me in the ass. Like, I'm sorry for the profanity, but it came back and kicked me in the ass, you know. So I had to learn not to kind of try to be that superhero, but also learning how to still be a comfort, like a shield or like a protection where you feel comfortable to releasing. But I can't intervene because it's part of spiritual law. You cannot intervene in a person's spiritual space without their acceptance or their ask. They have to ask for this. So I had to learn a couple different things. Learned about the law of silence. You know, really just being present in the present moment, not really trying to dwell too much on the past, because that was one of the major reasons why I was going through such a bad depression. Just because like I have a photographic memory, so everything that happened in that 2 year span kept on replaying and replaying and replaying in my head. Like literally every place I went to and made a memory with certain people would come back and like kind of like haunt me, because I couldn't erase it. So it was something I had to deal with. I was like, man, this is intense. You know, I'm like, am I the only one going through this? And then you start thinking things like that, but then you gain like a broader awareness, and you're like, no, you're not the only one who's been through something. There's people who suffer way worse than you, know, man. There are people across the world right now who don't have water to drink, food to eat, you know. So I had to really humble myself and just build upon and have faith in love too, because I mean, they say, what is it they say? They say that faith is like believing in something that is unseen, you know. And I have trouble in that because I was so practical, so analytical. I have to see visualization. I have to see the equation for like per se, or the program. Where it's like, no, having faith is you can't see it, but believing in something that you can't see, the unseen, because the spirit world and the physical world, the spirit world is more like of the unseen world. You can't see a lot of what goes on there, but I had to have faith in that. So it was a time where I built a lot of faith. I learned a lot, met a lot of amazing people, a lot of people that changed my life. I wish I was in contact with every single one of them, and I told them I would be, but it's like, time goes on, and by the time you remember to call that number that you wrote down in your notebook, meeting at like a meeting or something like that, like it's been a few years, so they probably changed it. Social media is pretty cool, so we can kind of keep up with people in that sense. But I'm not really too big on social media nowadays. I only kind of use like Instagram. Facebook is alright, but I'm not really in tune with it like that, or Twitter. But yeah. So that's just that. So that was like my little story about that. I don't want to talk about my story the whole video because that's kind of egotistical. I know this is my YouTube channel, but I don't want to talk too much about that. I just kind of want to like put out a word of encouragement to other people who might be facing any kind of depression or any just negative thoughts. I want you to, for every negative thought you have, I want you to write down a positive thought that counteracts that. I want you to start to reprogram your subconscious mind, because this world that we live in, you can call it Babylon, or just this society, has methods to get you in a state of fear, and fear is a lower frequency. Like just watching the news. I stopped watching TV about like, what was it? I'm 23 now, so about 6 years ago, like I was about 17. I took my TV out of my room, took out the cable. I even sold my game systems. I kind of want to get game systems back up because I kind of miss playing stuff like that. But stopped watching TV because I started to realize every time I turned on the TV, first thing I see was news, and the news was putting something that just made me feel insecure about wanting to even leave my house. Like, it was making me so fearful of the outside world that I didn't even want to leave my house. So I realized that early on, and I just stopped watching TV. I still do whenever I go to like a friend's house or something like that. I'll watch TV or we'll watch Netflix or whatever. But it helped me to kind of better restructure my subconscious so that I have more positivity. When I look outside now, I see optimism. I'm not like, oh, there's a war going on, man. Like that could come to America and things like that. I'm like, no, this is every day's an adventure. Every day above earth. Every day above ground. Breathing, taking in air, being able to see the sun. See people, feel the wind. All these different things. That's all gifts. It's all blessings. It's all divine. So that's how I see things now. But when I was watching like news and certain programs, it made you compare a lot. There's a lot of comparison that goes on when you start to do that, and that's how they rule the subconscious mind with fear. And your subconscious mind is 90% of what's going on in your reality, So a lot of these things that are going on now in your life is thoughts that you probably had in your subconscious mind maybe early on in childhood or later in teenage years, and now they're resurfacing. And a lot of people, it's so intense that it can become overwhelming. And sometimes we don't know how to accept. We try to escape it, try to numb ourselves to these emotions. But in truth, we have to feel them. And, for that time, I was just going through so much. I was trying to escape this world. I never actually tried to kill myself. I never tried to commit any suicide or anything. But just the thoughts were there, like, what's your purpose? Like, why are you here? And I had to really fight that inner voice. It's kind of like fighting your lower self and your higher self. Like, the lower self's kind of like turns to the dark side, and your higher self's like, no, you're a Jedi, you must fight for the Force and all that good stuff. And then there's a balance too. So you have your middle self too. So you have like three. So there's higher, middle, and lower. And so I really had to find my self-love. And around that time too, like I said earlier, that's when a lot of spiritual stuff started happening. And I don't like using the word spiritual just because I feel like I put it in a box. But that's when I started to like gain gifts. It was almost like a wish had been granted, but for this wish to be granted, a curse had to be granted as well too. It's almost like I got a gift and a curse. The curse was, I'm so depressed now because I truly understand just how powerful my thoughts are. But then the gift is like I'm able to see things that look so beautiful. Like around people, I see their light bodies and like their true essence, like the light vibrating from them. And I'm just like, man, it's amazing. And I try to explain it, but I try not to sound like crazy nowadays. Because if I talk too much, people will be like, yo, that's just too much info for me right now. And I just can't handle it. So that's why I'm trying to do this YouTube video to kind of break it down into segments, and have specific video titles so you can kind of understand my side of the story. And hopefully it resonates with you. You might be going through something right now where you're seeing specific numbers. You might be waking up at like a specific time of the day, like 7:11 or 9:11. Today I woke up at 1:44, and I don't know if a lot of you know about the 144 dimensions, the musical scale is like 12 times 12, and also 144,000 is a very powerful number in the Bible. Yeah, you can, and also you can live your life in synchronicity. Like, I had to realize that what it was for me was when I was starting to have these awakenings or these very spiritual events, I thought that was going to go away. And that's what I was afraid of. So I was kind of like, there would be days where I wouldn't sleep for 3 days because I'm like, if I go to sleep, when I wake up, it's not going to be the same. I had that fear. But I had to release that fear and open my heart space. And my heart space, when I opened it, my fourth chakra, it took me into the higher chakras. Like my 13th chakra opened, it became more broader. I started having communications with ascended masters or guides or angels or extraterrestrials, whatever you call them, or entities. There's so many different names. And throughout our history, I started having connections with them. And I was like, wow, I really am. Like, I bring, like, with me, I emit to you, like I project to you what's in your heart space. So like if you see me or feel me coming at you very happily or very open and welcoming, is because you wanted that. That's what you were trying to attract, and that's what I brought. I realize I'm a very huge projector. I always tell people when you're around me, expect synchronicity when you're around me, just because I've trained my energy, my electromagnetic field to bring about synchronicity so that people can experience their own spiritual awakening without me even having to speak to them. It will just be a part of the reality that's going on. You'll see something or you'll run into somebody that you're thinking about very dearly, and you're like, whoa, that's cool that I saw this person, or that's cool that we saw these numbers, or that's cool that these words stuck out to us while we were driving, you know. So I try to make my space very very pure. I'm very protective as to who or what I let into my space nowadays. You know, I mean, I'm still young, you know, so there's things like just getting intoxicated with alcohol. I know what that does to to my I guess the body or the temple. I know what that does and things like that, or you know, just different aspects of it. But for the main part, I just try to keep the space very pure, very loving. I try to flow in agape love, unconditional love. I don't judge anyone nowadays because I can't, you know, you don't know what they had to go through. They might tell you and retell you their story, and you might be like, I don't agree with a lot of what you're saying, but you don't know what they had to go through internally in their heart, in their mind, you know, in their spirit. So I don't judge. I cast away judgment, first of all. Like, I'm just like, I see you. We're all like, we're innocent. I see the inner child in a lot of us, you know. So like when I see people, I still see that innocence, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the love rather than trying to judge what you've become. You know, like in a later, like in all these like years that you've accumulated on Earth. So I try to get rid of judgment, you know, and I just try to see it as something I can grow from, something I can learn from, and something I also have a really good time, you know, with, you know, like I can enjoy the experience. And so far, life has been amazing. You know, it's 2018 now. That story where I went through depression, that was around like 2014, 15. And don't get me wrong, it didn't. It's not. I'm not saying it didn't come back. It's not like I solved it in 1 year. Like it was reoccurring from like 2014 all the way to like 2016 and into like 2017 year. So it was something. It was something I had to really work with. You know, a really good exercise for you when you wake up in the morning is to say, look in the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, you know, because only you can like really be real with yourself and really stare yourself in the eyes. Like look yourself in the eyes and be like, I love myself 7 times. So be like, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And the more you keep on saying this truth, you'll start to figure out, wow, I am like uniquely made. Like my design is amazing. Like, how am I even here? How did my parents meet each other? Like things like that. How did my family get to be together? How do we create this genealogy pool? You know, you start to really like go into like the deeper things, looking into the microcosm of the atoms and of that make you up, and the macrocosm of how all the planets are basically residing in you, and that like you are the universe experiencing itself. You know. So that's just what I think. I'm gonna leave this video off on that note. I don't know how long it is, but hopefully you can take something good from this. And I love you, and much love and light to you. Represent.